As we followed the flights and logged the journeys, one destination demanded a closer look. Tucked among the trees of southwest Mississippi.
Lots of questions, very little answers.
The Adams County Correctional Center sits hundreds of miles from the nation's southern border and more than 1,000 miles from Colorado, where Delvin Francisco Rodriquez was arrested. So why did he end up here, dead?
Entonces lo que nosotros queremos es una respuesta. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Qué orilló a que pasara eso?
Delvin's sisters don't want us to show their faces or use their names. They know they too face deportation. They say their brother was low-key and generous.
Lo vamos a recordar como una persona humilde, una persona trabajadora. Él nos brindaba mucho apoyo a nosotras, sus hermanas, y no solamente a nosotros, le brindaba la mano a las personas sin pedir nada a cambio.
ICE arrested Rodriguez in Summit County, Colorado, September 25, 2025. ICE then held him in the privately run Aurora ICE Processing Center near Denver. In October, ICE's own records show he agreed to leave the U.S. His deportation fight was over.
Our understanding is that Delvin made the choice to sign a self-deportation document.
Alex Sanchez heads Voces Unidas, a nonprofit that works with immigrants.
He should have been deported, right? He did agree that, or he did sign willingly that he wanted to self-deport after receiving, legal counsel.
More weeks, more time in custody in Colorado. No removal, no explanation why. In late November, weeks after he agreed to leave, ICE air operations began. VXP-52 operated by Avello, Denver, then west to Las Vegas, then south to Phoenix. The following day, Rodriguez boarded another plane, Tyson 42, operated by Eastern Air Express, Phoenix to Alexandria, Louisiana. Days later, he arrived here, the Adams County Correctional Center near Natchez, Mississippi, operated by CoreCivic. It is one of the nation's largest ICE detention facilities.
La última llamada la tuve el 4 de diciembre. Él quería saber que por qué tanto tiempo lo tenían en detención, que por qué nunca lo mandaban para Nicaragua, y también me preguntaba que averiguara sobre sus pertenencias, ¿verdad? Eso fue lo que hablamos el 4 de diciembre. Luego de ello, pues yo lo noté bien, tranquilo, no pasaba nada. Me dijo, te llamo mañana.
The call never came. In a one-page report ICE submitted to Congress, 2 words, attempted suicide. Days later, he died. One of 31 people to die in ICE custody in 2025, the deadliest year since ICE started reporting deaths to Congress in 2018.
You thought he was ready to go back to Nicaragua?
Sí.
Sí.
No más verlo, que estaba hospitalizado, y decir lo que está ahí, que nos dijeran en el hospital, lo que está ahí ya no tiene vida, él no está ahí, desconéctenlo. Es como decir, es un pedazo de carne, hay que deshacernos de él. Eso es muy duro.
Rodriguez's arrest record, according to ICE, 2 traffic-related offenses, failure to appear on a careless driving ticket and driving without a license. He wanted to leave the country. Instead, ICE kept moving him around it.
Queremos justicia, la verdad, por él, y que sea lo que Dios permita, la verdad. Estamos en manos de él, la verdad, en manos de Dios.
In November of 2025, Democratic members of Congress authored this letter to ICE, saying deaths like Rodriguez's raised serious questions about ICE's ability to comply with basic detention standards, as it underscores a pattern of gross negligence.
And I think that's part of the lack of transparency that ICE has pursued in this entire terrible episode.
Their Democratic colleague, Senator Michael Bennet from Colorado, says ICE isn't just answering the questions of the Rodriguez family, it's not answering his questions as well.
I mean, honestly, we're not really any closer to knowing what happened to Mr. Rodriguez and why he ended up in that prison in Mississippi anyway.
We know, because we looked, ICE wasn't short of options or flights. We found one plane, an Airbus 321, traveled from Alexandria to Nicaragua weekly, all while Rodriguez waited for one to send him home. Senator Bennett says what we found to date suggests his colleagues have more work to do.
You know, I think what you're going to discover that's going to come as a surprise to the Congress is how large and how expensive this air fleet is, and just how often these flights are going around the country without anybody really thinking through the logistics of where they're ending up.
And Chris Vanderveen joins us now. This was one case that got some attention right away because of how he died, but this is somebody that wanted to self-deport, and yet nobody could figure out where he was being sent.
Kim, that's true. Until we found out, it was not known exactly what planes he was on and where he went after he left Summit County, went to Aurora, then went to Arizona, then went to Louisiana, then went to that prison in Mississippi. There's still a lot of questions that remain about this case and a lot of unknowns, and you still have a family back here in Colorado that certainly, they themselves have a lot of questions about what happened.
Well, he did what this administration is asking people to do. They're saying you need to voluntarily self-deport. So he said he was ready to do that. He winds up dying in that facility. The official cause of death, if that's even been determined, was that he took his own life, but his family has questions about that.
Yeah, his family absolutely has questions, and there's no reason for us, there's no evidence for us to suggest that the narrative on this is wrong. I want to make sure that that's clear. But there is a lot of questions surrounding the death, one of which is that we asked for 911 tapes, any 911 calls that were made from that prison, from that facility that day. We were told there were none in existence. There's a number of other questions about why he was alone in a cell in a very, very, very busy facility where people are not typically held alone in cells. So yeah, there's questions that deserve certainly more scrutiny, and I think what Michael Bennett is getting at, but a number of other people are getting at as well, is there probably needs to be a little bit more oversight about these deaths, because they gave a one-page letter to Congress saying this is what happened. There were a lot of holes in that letter.